All right, hello, test check 1, 2. How's it sounding? How are we feeling? Sounds pretty good to me. Let's get this thing rolling. Let me do one more thing to ensure that we are rolling correctly. The chat's being weird. Let me fix that real quick. There we go, cool. All right. One more moment. Boom. Sweet. Hello and welcome to another Wednesday feedback stream. What's up, After Party? How are you doing today? My name is Zaak Kerstetter. I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer, and today I'm going to listen to your tracks and I'm going to tell you what I think about them. So that's what we do here on Wednesdays, song feedback stream time. So first off, let me go ahead and share the link in the chat. Seems like some of you guys are already catching on that you can just toss your songs in there early, which is great. So if you are new here and you would like to send me a track, the way this works, these are just kind of like the general guidelines that I go over at the start of all of these streams. Number one, original songs only. So no remixes or things like that. Copyright stuff, just don't want to have to deal with it. On top of that, ideally, works in progress, so things that you are still working on and will actually be able to go back in and change. You can share fully finished tracks if you want. However, you're probably not going to go back in and change them. So the whole point of the stream is for you to be able to actually work on it. But if that's all you have, that's totally fine. That's not a big deal. Another thing that's also really important that I haven't been mentioned in the last couple of weeks is that all skill levels, all experience levels, all genres are welcome here. So feel free to send in whatever it is you're working on. I just want to hear what you got. I know it can be scary to share, especially works in progress, but it's fun. And I promise that it will be nice. On top of that, if you are sharing a track for feedback, it is not required, but it is highly encouraged that you help give other people feedback. So that way everybody helps each other out and we all learn and grow together as a community. I think that's one of the most important things about this whole stream. And why I like it so much is that I get to hear your opinions about things and you get to help each other out, and it's great. The one rule that I do have for giving each other feedback is that it's good or I liked it doesn't count unless you follow it up with why. Why was it good? Why did you like it? If this is your track, what are you going to do with it? Other than that, the way the spreadsheet works, you click on this on the link pinned at the top of the chat. That'll take you to the spreadsheet. Paste your link in there, and I will get to them in the order received. If you have multiple tracks that you would like to share, please wait till the end of the stream to submit more than one track. Normally, we have time to get through multiple tracks from individuals. It's usually not an issue. However, it just makes my life a lot easier if you wait a little bit before you start popping multiple tracks in there. Other than that, the video, along with all of the live streams, get posted to the channel afterwards. They're hidden, so they're not in the main videos page, but there's a playlist of all the live streams. You can go back in there and review your feedback whenever you want. On top of that, if you have a song and you need some feedback, but you cannot make it to the live stream, you can always just put your song in the spreadsheet early and then go back and check the feedback whenever you want. You don't necessarily need to be here for the live part of it, although it is nice so that we can talk about it. And then lastly, feedback is, what's up, Bishop? Lastly, feedback is free. You don't have to pay anything for it. I just do this for fun because I like it. However, if you would like to support the channel and help allow me to continue to do this, you can hit the like button. You can hit the subscribe button. You can go check out all the videos I have on the channel. You can tell your friends. If you would like to help support the channel, you can check out the Patreon, where I do extra live streams and lots of cool stuff over there. You can also super chat in YouTube to tip, and that's cool too. But don't feel like you have to do that. Feedback is free. It's for everybody. But those are ways that you can help support the channel. Yeah, gym or live stream. I always think live stream is the better option there, but that's maybe just because I don't like the gym. But that might be a me thing more than it is a gym thing. Sweet. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the first track in just a second. As always with the first track, I'm going to do a little sound checking here. So let me know if it is too loud, too loud, too quiet, whatever. Let me know just to make sure everything is going the way I want it to. I was having some issues earlier this week with some audio stuff, but I think I got it all sorted, hopefully. You can already hear the coil influence. I like it.
As do others. All miraculous. Phrasing vaguely. Callousness. Oblivious. Sentience. In uniform. Second guessing. Second nature. I believe it. As do others. Salted soil. Purposeful. Harmful. Ill-intended. Strictly speaking. Gold and silver. Blood and breast milk. Meat is eaten. Water cleansed. Irrigation. Decoration. Paint on walls. On cavern walls. I believe it. As do others. So it is. Allegedly. As some have stated, fragrant corpses attract new life. Fanged and winged. Wild eyes. Salivating. Inconsolable. Do be careful. Do be careful.
Damn, that was sick. I really like that. Definitely has a lot of like early industrial vibes to it, which I think is fantastic. I think that's a genre that I think gets overlooked a lot, especially nowadays. I feel like the audio quality of the vocals fit really well with just the overall vibe of the track and the instrumental. So Julio, I would call this industrial. I mean, like, industrial is kind of a weird genre because it covers a lot of things, but this definitely reminds me a lot of early industrial kind of stuff. Yes, the vocals fit in really well. Just the kind of like talking instead of singing, I think fit really well with the kind of strangeness of a lot of the instrumental. I think that there were a couple parts where the reverb on the vocal verged on being a little bit too heavy, but I'm not sure if that's a problem. I think that may be totally fine in terms of the atmosphere and the vibe you're kind of going for here. So I don't think that was too big of a deal. I didn't notice the sub being too loud. I noticed there was a lot of it.
As do others.
But I didn't notice it like overpowering everything else. So you could turn down a tiny bit if you want to. I would, if I were you, I'd probably leave it mostly where it's at.
Salted soil. Purposeful.
I think if this was my track, one thing I might look into is a little bit more texture on the percussive stuff. You have a bunch of really cool, interesting sounds that you're already using for different kind of like pseudo percussive kind of elements that I think is actually really cool. A couple different, like a little bit more variety in terms of some of those sound effects, some of those like little clicking sounds, some those kinds of things to add that extra texture, I think will be really, really nice. Other than that, I think you could go a little bit heavier on distortion in a few places on some of the sounds. But I kind of like that you didn't go too over the top in terms of the distortion.
Ill-intended.
It's like kind of weird and wonky.
Gold and silver.
Without the distortion, so maybe just a hair more distortion if you wanted to.
Blood and breast milk. Meat is eaten.
I do feel like there could be a bit more clarity with the kick. Like I can hear it. It's pretty subtle, and maybe that's what you're talking about in terms of having too much sub. Maybe sidechain a few more things in the low end to the kick, and that'll come through a little bit more. Or add a bit more of a punchy layer to the kick, and I think that'll help kind of drive the rhythm a little bit more. But again, for this style of music, I don't think the kick needs to be like a big, huge EDM kick. I think you can be fine as long as it's like audible. I think it'd be kind of cool if, as the song went on, you got a little bit heavier with the delays on the vocals. But that's, it's personal preference kind of thing. But overall, I really love it. I think it has lots of style and has lots of character, and I think it's working for me. Julio, I don't know if I would really call this in the house family. I think there's a few other kind of sonic traits or characteristics that distinguish house as being separate than this. I think they're a little bit different from each other.
Wild eyes. Salivating. Inconsolable. Do be careful. Do be careful.
Yeah, I think especially at the end, I want there to be another layer, like it's a little more percussion, a little more something, just to kind of like make the end seem a little more complex. But I like it a lot. I think it sounds really cool. I think it's dope that we have people in the crew, in the community, making this kind of stuff. Chat, what do you think? Thoughts, questions, comments, ideas? I think one of the things that's really important about feedback and feedback sessions is that it's not just like you trying to help other people, but like also trying to learn from other people. So I think, Julio asking questions like, what genre is this? Like, would you call this house or not? Those are also good things to be asking. Like you can ask Bishop, like, how did you make a particular sound? Or ask whoever made a song how they made a particular sound. So, feedback is not about just you helping other people, but also like you helping yourself and learning from each other. So feel free to ask questions as well as part of the whole experience. All right, so I'm not sure if I recognize this name. So yeah, we'll check it out. I'll check that, Jason. Nice. Overall sounds really clean. For the most part, I'm really feeling the mix. The drums all sound really like nice and polished. All the melodic elements and the bass elements works well together. It's like it's sounding pretty good. There are two parts that really kind of stuck out to me that I think need to be looked into a little bit, but like I said, overall, sounding really good. The first part is your first build. I think the intro sounds really solid. Like no real complaints about this. I like that little vocal sample in there quite a bit as well. But then you have the kind of like build drums come in and they sound really distant and far away. And I think those need to be much louder. These drums right here, they're lacking the energy because the volume is too quiet. So just crank them up a bit and maybe even turn down the volume of some of your synth parts in the intro. And I think that'll help the drums here really stick out because right now this is not doing it for me. Yeah, all those build drops need to go up. And then once you get into the main drop section, it sounds really nice. It's just that build needs a bit of help, mostly with the mix. What's up, Luke? Welcome. If you want to share your music, there is a spreadsheet that is pinned up at the top of the chat. Click on the link. It'll take you in there and just put your link in the spreadsheet. The other thing I think would help this transition from the build up into the drop is a little bit of silence, a little bit of negative space. Right now, we have kind of the echoes of your arpeggiator going right into the drop. So I think giving yourself like a quarter note or a half a bar or some amount of time where there's basically just silence, I think will help that transition feel a little bit more impactful. The rest of the drop, though, is quality. I think the kick could go up a hair in the mix, and I wouldn't mind that. But other than that, I think there's not much to say about that. And then the next build, I think, works really well, too. So here you're kind of using a bit more of that negative space, and it works really well. I think that transition is actually pretty nice. However, in this second drop here, you have a few little like fills where you just have like a couple little snare sections. Like that little snare guy. Every time you do that, those sound a bit too quiet to me. So I think just like over compress them, really crank them up so that they sound really huge. Right now it sounds like we get these little breaks with these cool little snare fills, but they're just not as impactful. So turn those up a bit, you know, saturate them, do whatever you need to do to those to make them really stand out. And then I think the second drop is good to go. Luke, it does not have to be SoundCloud. It can be anywhere as long as I can stream it and I don't have to download it. So people send it on Google Drive, whatever is fine. Up to you. I just don't want to have to download a bunch of stuff onto my computer every week. But yeah, those are really the only things that I'm hearing here that need some love. Like I said, I really do like that vocal sample that you're using. And I think more of that vocal sample sprinkled throughout the entire arrangement where you like pitch it up and pitch it down and chop it up and reverse it and do cool stuff to it. I think I wouldn't mind that. But really, it's the two mixing things, those snare fills and then the build on the first build. Needs some love. But after that, I'd say you're pretty good to go. Not much else here I think needs a lot of work, except for maybe a tiny bit more kick. Chat, what do you think? Questions, comments, ideas? If this is your track, what are you going to do to it? Do you change anything? Do you leave it the way it is? Is it perfect? Let me know. All right, and next up we got a track from After Party with video included.
Sometimes in your search for happiness, you ponder the meaning of your life. You sift your memory for beginnings. You send your mind ahead for directions. But all you really know is now.
Nice. Sounds really good to me. I like it a lot. Also, if you guys are enjoying the stream, please feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It is greatly appreciated. So yeah, this track, your synth work, I'm at this point, I'm giving up on giving you feedback on your synth work because the synth work sounds perfect. It fits with the vocal amazingly. It fits with the lo-fi thing. It has this very nostalgic kind of feel to it. The synths are sounding super quality. Don't change a thing about those. However, after party, I am still going to get on you about your drums. Overall, I think the drums are sounding really good. I think pattern-wise, they sound really good. For the most part, I think the kick could be a little bit cleaner, but the big thing here is the snare. To me, the snare sticks out a bit from this track because everything does have this very kind of like smooth and natural feel to it, even when like your synths have a very natural, organic feel to them. And your snare here has this very harsh feel to it. It has this very harsh, very EDM, almost kind of like a dubstep kind of snare. And it, to me, just kind of sticks out. So I think a more acoustic, more gentle snare will fix everything here. That's really, literally the only thing I think really needs any work. Other than that, I felt like the whole thing was almost flawless.
All you really know is now.
I think it's fine here. You have this like little cracky snare.
For direction.
That snare's fine.
But all you
And then it switches.
is now.
I don't know. It just like, it doesn't fit in to me. So I think a more acoustic snare in there will help out a bit. But other than that,
And you are lost.
yeah, the Runa might be causing that.
Like every member of the human race, you were born and you must die. But death
Yeah, everything else sounds perfect. I'm like, I don't have any other feedback besides just that one thing. But yeah, I'm super digging it. And again, as always, the video fits in really well. I'm not sure how I felt about the choir at the end. I think it was cool. Yeah, I think for the most part it's pretty cool. But I think I could take or leave the choir at the end. I think the rest of the song might be better than the choir part at the end. Or just make it a little shorter. Something like that. But yeah, sounded really good. Chat, thoughts, opinions, questions, comments, ideas, let me know. Or I guess let After Party know. Let it be known. And if anybody is just joining us and would like to share a track, you can click on the link that is pinned up at the top of the chat, paste your link in there, and that's how I get to hear your tracks. All right, so we got another track from Julio. Nice. So I feel like there's a lot of things going on here that I think need to be taken a look at. So I feel like rhythmically, Julio, you understand rhythm really well. It seems like you're like getting all the reggaeton rhythms down. It's the other parts that surround the rhythm that I think are needing a little bit of love. So first off, number one, it sounds a little sparse right now. It sounds a little empty. It's like missing some things, especially in this area right here. Like this is cool, but I think there needs to be more happening here. And even this, it's just that rhythm with that one, I guess kind of like bass line going on. So more layering, more different ear candy, things for you to pick up on, I think would be really helpful. It also, I feel like sometimes when you have your bass and your drums, they're clashing a little bit. Like here, you have this kind of distorted sounding kick, and then you have the bass line going at the same time. And so when they happen at the same time, they end up clashing a little bit. So what I recommend you do is sidechain your bass from your kick. If you haven't done this before, just grab a compressor, put it on your bass, hit this little triangle right here, turn on sidechain, and then grab the input from wherever your kick is, and then start to turn your threshold down. And that'll make it so that as the volume of the kick goes up, the volume of the bass goes down a little bit. And that'll make it so in situations like that where you have both of them happening kind of at the same time, you don't get overwhelmed with sound. So I'll try doing that. But the big thing here is layering, just getting more things going on. The one's going burr, 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 burr. That definitely needs a little bit of love. It's sounding a little basic. So some more notes in there, different rhythms, I think could be really cool. Since it's pretty clear you understand the rhythms for the drum beats, I think as you're writing some of your more melodic or harmonic parts, keep in mind rhythm there too. Like the rhythms can either match or they can kind of go in between the rhythms. So like play with rhythm for more parts of the song than just your drums. And this part gets a little bit like haunted house, which I'm not sure if that's the vibe you're going for. Yeah, there needs to be more here too. So I feel like throughout the entire track, there needs to be more layers and more things going on to really make it a like super engaging arrangement as of right now. But yeah, again, like it sounds like you're understanding the rhythm. You're understanding a lot of like the context for the genre. I know you're really big on doing everything from scratch yourself. But again, don't be afraid to use some presets. Don't be afraid to use some samples. Don't be afraid to like, grab some stuff and toss it in there, even if it's just placeholders. That can be really helpful just for kind of like fleshing out your ideas and really kind of figuring out, what it is you're trying to say or make as an artist. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking about that track. Chat, let me know any thoughts, questions, comments, ideas. Let's hear it. You guys have been a little quiet today on the feedback. I want to hear what you guys think. All right, next up, we got a track from Dig the Cat. Get rid of these guys.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Nice. I like it a lot. I think there's a lot of really cool elements here. Every single one of your sounds, I think, works really well. Whether it's like those like weird horn blast or the weird like, I don't even know what to call these sounds. Those little like twirly sounds. Everything works really well. I think the countdown works really well. Sounds really solid. However, I do think I could use a little bit more variation. I think there's one of the things I'm big on doing, especially these days, is once I get the kind of like foundation for a track, is duplicating tracks and then just like screwing with it. So like those horns, for example, like duplicate the entire horns track and then like play around with it a bunch to get something new. And then you can like switch back and forth between the original version and then the like super processed version, and like be able to jump back and forth and weave them together. And it saves you a lot of time from having to make new stuff from scratch, because you're basically just recycling content that's already there. And I feel like this song is at the stage, if this were my track, I would just be recycling all the things that I have to see what I can come up with and how I can integrate that to make the arrangement feel like it has a little bit more going on to it. In terms of the actual arrangement itself, this intro here to me felt a little bit too quiet. Like, I know you're trying to like not go too heavy into it so that the first beat sounds really big, but right, I think it just is too quiet. Like, this transition is pretty satisfying into this beat. Like, that works pretty well. However, I really feel like this build up here in this transition got me way more hyped up. So if it were me, I might either scratch the first part of the intro or this whole part of the intro and just start here with the countdown into the video game sounds.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Because this part was super cool. Yeah, I think if, this was, 1 minute into the song instead of being a minute and a half into the song, I think that would make it feel like it's coming on really strong, right? I think it's something to consider, especially with like the modern day of streaming that we live in, is that if somebody's listening to like a playlist on Spotify or just whatever, you have about like 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds max to really grab your listener's attention before we hit the next button, go to the next song, right? So I think it's more important than ever these days to have strong intros, or at least a hook or something that kind of captivates the audience in the very beginning. Not saying you need to do that for every genre and every style, but I think for this kind of thing where it's kind of like a groovy house beat, open really strong, and then people are going to want to listen to the whole track as opposed to giving an extra long intro here. I say this as somebody who more often than not writes really long intros, so I'm working on it. You know, we all have our things, but I think that would be really cool because this part does sound really cool, and I think this part is really captivating. Other than that, I think it's mostly, like I said, a little bit more variations and a little bit more recycling the material that's already there to flesh out these sections and make them feel really alive. I really do like all of the sounds that you're already using. And like that part sounds really cool. I think you have these two kind of bassy sounds. You have the one really low bassy sound, and then you have like a higher bassy sound that kind of goes in response to it. I think the higher bass sound could be a bit louder and maybe a little bit more aggressive. Another layer, a little more distortion, however you want to do it. That one there. Because it sounds really cool. A lot of your dancey sections are also pretty short. I do this sometimes by having, you know, dancey sections that are too short, thinking that your audience might get bored. If it's grooving and it's working, make it long enough that if somebody's going to play this in the club or at a venue somewhere, that people actually have time to dance to it. A lot of times dance beats, I feel like, they happen so fast that the audience just barely has time to get into it before they're on the next beat, right? So I think a lot of your beat-based sections could be a little bit longer, and then you could explore the space within that section for longer. And like I said, try new variations within it while still being the beat. It's like here you have like, 8 bars or so, maybe 16 bars if you're at a faster tempo of the beat, and then it resets. Here's the reset. And then this beat happens for like 15 seconds. So give people time to dance, give people time to work on, work out their stuff on the dance floor. You don't need to reset it all the time. But other than that, yeah, I really like it. I love those horns. I think the horns could definitely be more of a center focal point for this track. But yeah, those are the main things I'm thinking here. Again, overall, really solid. I'm digging all the sounds quite a bit. Chat, any questions, comments, ideas, let us know. Love to hear you guys' thoughts on this track. Next up, we got a track from Sasha.
My involvement started when I was like just walking down the street, you know what I mean? I was like 19 years old or whatever. It was around 69 or 70. And this guy came up to me and said, we have this new product and I have a whole shitload of it I want to give away as a publicity thing. And then, for the next month or something, I just went around and gave away as much of it as I could. liked it and bought it, but the run-of-the-mill dealer, you know what I mean, they wanted the cheapest thing where they can make the biggest profit. And my involvement, and numerous of the people I knew who were involved, it was not about profit. It wasn't about money. It was like a holy mission.
Nice. Really interesting. Overall, I kind of dig it. It feels kind of like genre amorphous in a really cool way, where it's like doesn't really fit into any like one box in terms of style, which I think is actually pretty hard to do and actually really cool. And overall, I like a lot of the elements that you've tossed in here. I like the like pads and the strings. I like the kind of vibe of the drums. There's two things I think that stick out to me the most. The first one is one of your main synth parts. Number one is too loud. That guy right there. That sound, it just comes in too strong. It's too loud. It drowns out everything else and really kind of like throws the whole mix off balance a little bit. So it's too loud. And number two, with this specific sound, I feel like it doesn't, in terms of like vibe or atmosphere, it doesn't quite mesh with everything else. I feel like a lot of the sounds like they fit together and they sound like they belong together. And this one sound, maybe just because it's too loud, but I also think that it's just like, it has this kind of like gritty, aggressive feel, whereas the rest of it feels a lot more kind of like chill and relaxed. So over up to me, I would first try turning it down a bunch, like pretty significantly, see if that makes it kind of fit in a little bit better. And then if that doesn't work, I would just maybe scrap it all together and just get rid of it, because I think it's just... Yeah, I feel like it just doesn't kind of work there. So for me, I would probably get rid of it, but try turning it down first, see how that makes you feel. The other big thing that I noticed in this track is, in terms of the arrangement, it kind of has like it's like one steady thing. Like you kind of get into it, you got your bass line, you got a bunch of cool sounds going on.
Run-of-the-mill dealer, you know what I mean?
You have a little break here. But other than that, it really kind of like, it hits an energy level and just kind of plateaus with like little exceptions to that. So I think it'd be interesting if you switched up the arrangement and kind of made the track kind of grow and evolve over time. I think to me, it's really important that music is not just a like collections of sounds or collection of notes, right? Like when you're writing a song, you're telling a story. And so that story should have a beginning, middle, and end, or some kind of emotional arc to it. And right now, I feel like you just kind of have this plateau where you have a break section right here.
One of the cheapest thing where they...
Which is cool. I think that's really helpful. But this section and this section feel very similar to each other, right? So, and I know you have like an intro and then an A section and then a break and then kind of back to an A section and then an outro, right? So it's an arrangement and it works. But I think there's a lot of room to explore there in terms of taking layers out to bring the energy level down, adding new layers to bring the energy level up, having things change octaves a little bit. Rhythmically, the drum beat, I think, kind of stays the same the whole time. So a little bit more variety in there. And I think that'll help make this song feel less like kind of like, okay, it gets to one point and then kind of sustains there for most of the track, to the track takes you different places. It takes you on a journey, it takes you on an adventure, or wherever it's taking you. So those are the two main things I would look at here. See if you can spice up the arrangement a little bit and take a look at that one particular sound and see if you can tweak that a little bit to make it fit in a little bit better. Or like I said, get rid of it. But yeah, I think overall it's really cool. Like I think
and this guy came up to...
The sounds you're using are really cool.
But
I like the percussion here a lot. Same thing with the bass line. A little bit more variety in drums and a little more variety in the bass line, I think would go a hugely long way in making the arrangement feel like it flows a little better. But yeah, that's kind of one thing about this track. Chat, any other thoughts, questions, comments, ideas? Let me know. All right, so next up we got a track from Luke. As of right now, this is the last track in the spreadsheet. So if you are waiting to send me a track or you're just joining us and you'd like to send me a track, click on the link to the spreadsheet and you will be immediately after this one. And I'm just going to read Luke's note real quick. All right, so there's going to be lyrics on this, but he hasn't recorded them yet. Let's check it out. Yeah, no worries, Sasha. Thanks for popping by. Yeah, no worries, Luke. Sorry about that, HTJ. Nightbot has a mind of its own. Oh, you're good. I need to fix Nightbot. Nice. That is super smooth. I'll see you, Julia. Thanks for popping by. So this is dope. This is really cool. We haven't had a track like this in quite some time on the channel. Overall, the quality of the recording here and just the instrumentation sounds fantastic. I'm a big fan where this is going, and I could definitely see some like really thick, sultry, soulful vocals going on top of this, and that would be awesome. So I'd definitely love to hear this once you get the vocals on here. I think in terms of the instrumental and what you can do to spice it up, I agree with what people were saying in chat. A real subtle, really basic bass line, I think would really help kind of round out the low end and help the whole thing feel a little bit more rich and full. Don't disagree with that. I felt like the guitar sounded really, really nice. However, there were a number of points where it felt like it was a little bit too quiet and a little bit too held back in terms of where it sits in the mix. So I would run your guitar through a compressor, or if you're already running through a compressor, maybe crank it through the compressor a little bit harder. And I think that will solve a lot of your guitar problems there. Other than that, I think the guitar tone sounded fantastic. The piano sounded great. I really like that you used the bells as instead of the snare. I think it's like a cool, interesting take on that. And then it sounds like later on you layered in with a side stick. I think that side stick could be a tiny bit louder, and I wouldn't mind that. Other than that, when I first heard the drum beat, I was like, it's so slow. It was like almost painfully slow. And then it felt like as the track kind of progressed, I felt like, oh, okay, I can kind of like get with it now. But there's a lot of space in between your beats. And so when I heard the tom fills, I was like, great, he's using that in-between space to get those toms in there. However, my big issue here, and this is really a subtle thing, I feel like you're using the same tom fill over and over again. And so it gets really repetitive. So I think more variety in your fills. Maybe sometimes they're toms, maybe sometimes there's something else, maybe like a little hi-hats, open close hi-hats, whatever. Or at least the pattern of the tom drums is not exactly the same. I feel like right now is like, okay, the tom fill is perfect, but then it happens all the time and it's always exactly the same. At least it sounded the same to me. Yeah, in terms of the side stick, I guess it's okay. To me, it's not the side stick sounded really subtle. Maybe you want to keep it that way, in which case keep it the way it is. I definitely don't think the side stick is too loud, at least not from how I'm hearing it. Yeah, more variety in those toms I think will go a long way. Or I guess it doesn't need to be necessarily need to be toms that are doing the fills, but more variety in the fills in general I think will be really helpful. Other than that, I think it was sounding really good. I'm trying to think there's like... There were a few points that felt a little empty and like they could use a little bit more guitar. And then you eventually did put in the guitar. Like I think in this last section here. Like that little section there could use some guitar noodling. There's a few points in that where it felt like the whole arrangement was pretty understated, which is not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're going to be tossing on big vocals on here. But I think there's a few places throughout the arrangement where I felt like you could throw a few more guitar notes in there and I would not mind that. But yeah, overall, it sounds really clean. Love the piano, love the guitar. Yeah, it feels like there's no vocals. I do like these little harmonizations though. Yeah, I like it. Just as a couple of things, the tom fills. mostly just the tom fills now. Now that we've kind of like talked about it a bit, it's mostly just the tom fills. I feel like need some love, but other than that, I think it sounded really good. I think, and the missing bass, those are the two things. And then slap those vocals on there, and then see what that does to your track. Because I think it, in terms of a backing track for some vocals, I think it's sounding really quality. It's sounding really pretty. I personally think you could toss some hi-hats in here too, and I wouldn't mind that as well. But that's personal preference. It might be up to you. I think it's kind of interesting that your tempo is super, super slow, but your song's called Time Went By Too Fast, which I like that, the contrast there. The bass line can be really basic. Like you could have it every like half bar, just play a note that's, you know, relative to the chords you're playing. It could be the root note most likely, or if you want to like plop some in between your chords, you could just pick notes that are in the key that, or in the chord that you're playing at that time. That's usually the easy way to do it. But the root, just take the root note of your chord and then kind of go from there. It's probably where I'd start. Yeah, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll write my bass line first and then write my chord progression based off of whatever notes I'm playing in my bass line. That makes it super easy. Sweet. So at this point, we've gotten through all of the songs in the spreadsheet. And then, so if, you know, big thanks to you guys for showing up and sending me your tracks. I really appreciate it. I know it can be scary to share works in progress. If you've enjoyed the stream, feel free to hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe if you're new around here. We do this every Wednesday afternoon on top of the Monday song feedback stream. What's up, Janef? How you doing? Yeah, Luke, you can take the root note out of the piano, and that'll be the easy way to do it. So I'm gonna hang out for a little bit longer, answer any questions you may have just for a little bit. But as of right now, we got through all the tracks pretty quickly. So if you are just joining us and you got a track you want to send, toss it in the spreadsheet. Otherwise, I'll be here for a little bit. And no worries, Janef. We still got plenty of time. I will be back on Monday for a song feedback stream, and if you are a Patreon member, you can check me out on Tuesday. We started the Song a Week Song Challenge, so if you are, oh sweet, thanks for the super party, or the super chat after party. I really appreciate it. The Song a Week challenge has started this week, so if you are wanting to write 50 songs this year with me, I started on Monday, and I've made a decent amount of progress on my track so far. I'm feeling pretty good about it. But we're gonna be doing a bunch of stuff like that on the channel this year, just writing lots of music. I didn't get much work on it done today, but I got a lot done yesterday. Super party. All right, I need to just turn off Nightbot. Nightbot has caused me more issues than it has solved. See, in the actual spam, it doesn't even get. Oh, that is a fantastic question, Janef. That might be a topic for a whole video. Actually, I did a video on writer's block, I think, a while ago. So how do you curb producer block? There's lots of different ways to do it. For me, the best thing I've found is deadlines. So I think, well, it depends on what kind it is. Sometimes it's just motivation to start something, and sometimes it's motivation to finish something, right? So you like start something and then you just get frustrated, versus when you're like, I want to be motivated, but I'm not motivated right now. If I'm not feeling motivated, just putting deadlines on myself is the best thing I can do. That's why I'm doing the song a week thing, because otherwise I will procrastinate forever. So deadlines can be really helpful. In terms of things that you can do when you've started a track and you're just like stuck with it, the best thing you can do is collaboration. Make somebody else deal with it. So like, say you start a track and you're like, all right, I'm feeling this track, and then you hit a wall with it. Find somebody else who you trust, who has a good, is a good producer, who you can work with, and send it to them, and either get feedback on it, like through the feedback stream. That's one of the reasons I started the feedback stream. Or collaborate with them and be like, hey, would you want to do a collaboration on this track I'm working on? And they can take a look at it, do whatever it is they're going to do to it, and then send it back to you. Or you guys can get in the studio together and work on it together. And they'll be approaching it with fresh eyes and fresh ears, and they will be able to see things that you don't see. And that's a fantastic way to get around writer's block. And then once you get it back, or once you start, if you're working on it with them, then you can start seeing it from their perspective, or you can start approaching it differently. So collaboration, I think, is one of the best things you can do when you're hitting those moments where you're like, it's not working, like I'm stuck. So that's probably what I recommend. That's one of the things I want to try focusing on a lot, actually, for the channel coming up, is like getting more people in the community to collaborate with each other and do something like that. Trying to figure out what's the best format for something like that. I might just do like a collaboration challenge one week. We'll figure something out. If you guys have ideas for that, let me know. So collaboration is really helpful. I think sometimes just taking a break is really helpful. Like, go outside. Like, the computer or whatever it is you're using to make music, that just like staring at a screen sometimes can be really difficult to do for long periods of time. So go do something else. Make sure you're eating food. Make sure you're getting sleep. Making sure you like, self-care is like another really fantastic way to be better at creating whatever it is you're creating. So eat some vegetables, take a nap, to be nice to yourself, treat yourself to whatever. That can be really helpful. And then when you come back, you're like, okay, now I'm feeling fresh. I'm ready to actually approach this. I think a lot of people think that you can just power through, and sometimes you can, but sometimes it's easier just to like, all right, take a step back for a second. The third thing that I'll say, and I might make a video about this because this is kind of a different topic than I think the one I talked about before, is don't take it so seriously. Like, focus on the process. This is something I said in the video. Focus on the process, don't focus on the result. So try experimenting with different things. Try a new plugin. Try, taking a sample and flipping it upside down. Try like, don't be so caught up in it being good, and focus more on experimentation and just trying things out for yourself. I think it'd be the third thing I would try. I think the biggest writer's block for me is when I expect something to be good and then it turns out to be not as good as I expect it, then it feels bad. So if I have no expectations, or I go in expecting it to be a fun learning experience rather than a productive experience, that can also make a huge difference. And that's probably one of the best things I can do for myself personally to get around that. Yeah, Super Party is a great name for an artist. You should definitely take that. All right, looks like we got a track from Janef. I'm gonna check this one out. Oh, didn't work, Janef. Try another link. I'll try re-uploading it or whatever. And just let me know when you update the spreadsheet. Oh, there it is. All right. Dope. This sounds really good. I like this a lot. This may be one of the best songs that you've shared on the channel. Sounds really high quality. I love what you're doing. Stylistically, I love what you're doing. There's a few minor things here and there that I think need a little bit of tweaking, but this is like, I'm feeling it. I'm really digging this. So first off, I like the intro. I will let you know that there are certain people who hate it when there's sirens in the songs they're listening to, because if they're just driving around in the car and they start to hear that siren getting louder and louder, they actually think that there's like a siren around them and they need to watch out for a cop or whatever. So that will, there's some people who they won't like that. That's a choice you can make, whether you want to keep it in there or not. But just know that, like, for some people, if they hear that and they're driving around, they're going to be mad at you. But other than that, I like the intro. I do feel like this guitar riff that you have going on gets a little bit repetitive. We hear it a lot throughout the whole track. So there's a few points where it switches up, and I really liked it when it did switch up, like in this section. Or was it? There's a part where the guitar switched up. I don't remember where it was. But more changing of the guitar, because it's a really nice, really pretty guitar hook, and I think that it just does get a little bit repetitive over time. Love this beat here. This part, yeah, I think this part's fantastic. Kick sounds great. I actually think that some of the percussion you have here, I was expecting it to exist over here in this section, and it didn't really. So I actually think recycling some of the percussion here, tossing it in here, will help that really kind of groove. And then we get to this section here, which is a nice little reset. Again, a little variety on the guitar, that'd be great. I love that you layer in the reverse guitar with guitar. That's fantastic. That was like a new thing that I hadn't heard you do before, and I think that really helped. So good job on the reverse guitar. And then this part that's about to happen here, this transition, is really close to being amazing. It's like, it's so good. I love the horns. Every time you do horns, I love them. But it sounds a little chaotic. Let me listen to it again. Yeah, it's a little chaotic to me, but I don't mind it. I think it's actually kind of cool, and I can get behind it. I do wish there was more saxophone, though. Give me more saxophone. It's great. Toss it in there. You went a little bit too heavy on the reverb on that snare clap sound. So just dial back the decay time on that a little bit, and that'll be great. I like this part too. More horns sprinkled in there, be fantastic. And the percussion from there. Do you use that? It's a little bit different over here. But yeah, those are the main things. Yeah, just more variety off that guitar, and I think you're mostly good to go there. What's up, Velta? How you doing? If you want to share your track, there is a spreadsheet that is pinned up to the top of the chat. Click on that. It'll take you to the spreadsheet. Toss your link in there, and then you will actually be basically up next. Yeah, so saxophone's great. More saxophone. Love the reverse guitar. Less reverb on the snare than this last section here. Maybe recycle some of the percussion from here over to here. But I don't know. I thought this part was super cool. Yeah, Jeanette, you just need to make really good friends with somebody who's a good saxophonist and just have them play on like half of your tracks, because I think that'd be perfect. But yeah. Yeah, I think if you're going to change the guitar based on the vocal, it could be great. But it might be nice to have just more variety in there so that when the vocalist is going to sing on it, they have different options for things they can do in there. But yeah, overall, I'm really digging it. It definitely feels like a lot of your production skills are leveling up, and you're kind of developing your voice a lot, Jeanette, which is really cool to see over the weeks. I also feel like it's been a little while since I heard one of your tracks. All right, so Velto, just to let you know, I don't like to do remixes for feedback, just because I get copyright strikes for them, basically. Not strikes, I get copyright whatever things. So if you have a track that is not a remix, I would prefer to listen to that. If not, I guess we can just do this. But if this is the one you're dying to get feedback on, we can work through this, I guess. All right, let me see if you put another one in there. Okay, cool. So get it from. I appreciate that. No worries. Let's check it out. Josh, I'm finishing on Sunday, so I started on Monday. Awesome, Janef. I'm glad that's helpful. Nice. Yeah, I can definitely see the Elenium influence on this track for sure. I think to me, the biggest issue here in this track is dynamics. I think everything sounds big and huge. However, if everything is loud all the time, then nothing is loud, if that makes sense. Like the difference between quiet sounds and loud sounds is like creates so much energy and intensity and emotional engagement in a track. And I think that's what this track is missing most. And it's most evident in two different places. The first place is here, going from your intro to your build. This transition of volume feels pretty abrupt and doesn't really kind of flow. Like, this is cool. But then we just kind of like get dropped right in the middle of something. So I feel like having some kind of in-between zone, in between this and this, I think will help. That's somewhat in between also in terms of volumes. And that will help make a big difference. Because right now this feels like you're just dropping somebody on their head into the like big drums and all the synths and things like that. The other thing you could do is just also make this section a little bit quieter. Just because it can be really loud doesn't necessarily mean it always needs to be super loud. So that would be the other option, is maybe kind of like have this section be a little bit quieter. This is also evident over here in this middle section here. And just by looking at the waveform, you can kind of see that this was a little bit over compressed in the mastering stage, it feels like to me. Or you guys just went crazy on the mix and was like everything loud. So going from the loud section to the quiet section doesn't feel that impactful. Because it's the same volume, more or less. So I guess my advice would be both this section and this section could be a little bit quieter in terms of volume, but also use some negative space here. Maybe take out some of the sounds and then build them back in. And that way you're not just like getting blasted with sound immediately. And you'll notice this a lot in songs and style music and this kind of like future bassy kind of thing, or dubstep or whatever, is that you'll like build up in terms of intensity and then reset and then build back intensity, right? And that makes the less intense parts feel more impactful because you bring the energy level down a little bit, and that makes the louder sections feel louder because you're going from a quiet volume to a loud volume instead of going from a loud volume to an even more loud volume. So that would be the biggest thing. If you can wrangle that a bit, if you can maybe ease off the master a little bit and spend some time with the mix, kind of like massaging that and making that work, I think that's going to help out tremendously in terms of the arrangement and the emotional impact of this track. Other than that, I noticed, especially in this last section here, a lot of your main melodic parts are just getting completely washed out by your other synthy parts, like your bass and your like chords. Yeah, you have a melody part in there that sounds almost kind of like a flute. That sounds like it could be really cool, but it's just getting totally enveloped by all the other sounds. So you might want to bump that a little bit in the mix, and I know it's hard sometimes, but like tone down some of your other big synthy parts to make that really stand out. And then an outro would be nice. I know it's not fully necessary, but it might be a cool way to kind of like reset, maybe integrate some more of this guitar part from the beginning. Also integrating this guitar part into this section somehow could be really cool, because you get to this guitar part, it sounds awesome. It's a great way to build into the song. And then as far as I can tell, you kind of forget about the guitar for the rest of the song and it never really comes back. So integrate more of the guitar in there because it sounds cool and it adds, you know, a lot of that melodic part to the melodic bass that you're trying to make. Other than that, I felt like your build sounded really good. The drops, I think themselves sounded really good. It is a bit bright on the high end. I maybe tone, especially some of those like open hats or those open cymbals, I think are a little bit too much, but it's not that big of a deal. But it seems like in terms of sound design and in terms of like your overall understanding of the genre, it seems like you kind of know what it is you're going for. You know the style, you know what's happening here, and it seems like you're well on your way to kind of achieving that sound. That kind of Millennium future bassy kind of big heavy chords, big heavy bass with the really straightforward down tempo-y beat. But yeah, those are the main things I was noticing there. Yeah, no worries, Vato. It's funny you guys mentioned Millennium. I actually helped him with his live performance setup when he went on tour, I don't know, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, which was pretty cool. Sweet. So I think we got one more track in the spreadsheet. Let me grab this over here. From Albarello. All right.
I do feel good. I've been taking vitamins. I don't know if they're making me feel any better.
Yeah, Josh, you can toss one in there.
I can't sit still, I need an natty and some yak. I can't see shit, feel like my iris painted black. I got a phone just for them racks, and one in case she call me back. Boy, you ain't matching tit for tat, now you ain't matching shit with that. I got some pressure and some gas, that shit that leave you blast. You know I'm about to come up fast, got niggas asking where I'm at. I'm off the map, ain't coming back. I'm on the road, boy, please don't ask. You want a verse, your shit is whack. We leaving chest pains, heart attack. I got niggas shoot for me like you shoot greens in fucking park. If niggas come to show off badges, best believe it's flying.
Yeah, I bumped it pretty loud. I'm gonna turn up a little more.
Niggas been playing with it.
I think it's just pretty quiet.
Even scared to death, no more can't leave without my mark. I'll take you back when I was young, ain't got no friends, no calls or text. No niggas saying I'm gonna make it out like I, but he the best. Feel like I can't even lead out. He always got a vest, I'm going up with or without. So hold on tight, don't lose your chance. I bet them blue strips make you dance. Bet that chopper make you dance. I dropped some friends and made some bands. I lost my mind and caught some fans. Yeah, I watch sex, can't use my hands. She gon' ride it in her van. Still got a Glock up in my pants. It ain't gon' lock, it ain't gon' jam. You would pop for me, you fam. If you would not, you just a bitch. I know some niggas that still gang, and I know niggas that just switch. I do life for all my mains, but I know niggas who gon' snitch. I know some niggas who got bands, but they ain't never gon' be rich. We ain't doing handouts, take a slap up on your wrist. I done took off Rambling now, want some ice up on my fists. These yellow diamonds ain't no piss, wear my piss purple amethyst. When I get lost and it's a man down, bitch, I ain't no fucking kid.
Nice. Alberella, if you're in chat, let me know. So I think overall, there's a lot of stuff that's going on with this that I think are working. However, the big issue is your big 808 kicks are way too loud. So when I try to turn it up, the kicks are the right volume, but everything else is too quiet. So take the volume of your kicks, turn the volume of the kicks way down, and then turn the volume of everything else, turn everything else up. That'll make night and day a world of difference in terms of being able to hear everything better and just make the whole track work. Cool, awesome. So other than that, your vocals, I think, sound a little bit dry to me. I don't know, did you make the beat and are you the one rapping on it, or are you just the one rapping, or do you just make the beat? Sometimes it's hard to tell when people are submit hip hop tracks to know what their role is in the creation of this track. So your vocals sound a little dry, so I would, number one, compress them a bit. Just toss them through a compressor. Just make sure that threshold is bouncing up and down a little bit, or the gain reduction is bouncing up and down a little bit, and I think that'll make a big difference. Also, you'd be amazed what a tiny bit of reverb can do to a vocal. So run it through reverb, not a huge amount of reverb, just enough so it's barely audible, and then run it through the compressor, and I think that will brighten up the vocals, and then really help kind of make the vocals way more audible. You sound like really far away in the mix. So those two things I think will also make a world of difference. Are you working with the person who made the beat, or do you just buy the beat by itself? The other thing is in the beat, your snare. Both your snare and your clap also sound quiet, but again, that's because the kick is too loud. But they also sound a little bit dry. So kind of similar thing that I recommend doing to your vocals. Tiny bit of reverb, a little bit more reverb than you put on your vocals. Put on your snare and your clap, and then compress the crap out of them. I think that'll bring them out, make them sound a lot better, give you rhythm, like make it so you can really feel that rhythm. Other than that, I think those are the main big things that need to happen here. Yeah, so if you just got the beat off YouTube, there might not be much you can do about individual parts of your beat. So, I mean, I guess if you got really creative with it, you could try to figure out a way to turn the kick down a little bit and leave the other things where they are. But as of right now, It's going to be really hard to get a good sounding track off of this beat because the volumes on the beat are just wrong. So maybe grab a different beat, maybe figure out something else to do with it. But that's a big issue that needs to be addressed in order for the mix to work, I think. But other than that, I think like
shit feel like do for me like you shoot greens in fucking park. If niggas cutting the shit on tight, don't lose your chance. I bet them blue strips make.
Yeah, I think the rest of it is kind of like sounds decent. It's just the beat needs to be fixed a bit, and your vocals need to be processed a little bit more. But yeah, those are the main two things that I'm noticing in there. Some of if you had access to the stems or you had access to the whole beat, it'd be a really easy fix. But since you don't have access to the individual parts of the beat, it's going to be a lot trickier to try to figure that out. But if it were up to me, I would probably just grab a different beat that has the same kind of tempo and rhythm and maybe try that out and see how it feels. Yeah, and I think ideally, long term, to make your own beats, like you can make a beat better than this probably with not a lot of stress, I don't think. Sweet. Chat, any other thoughts, questions, ideas? Cool. So got a track from Josh. This will probably be the last one for the evening. Once again, I appreciate all you guys coming by, sending me tracks. This is super fun to do, so I'm glad you guys are here. If you're enjoying the stream, feel free to hit the like button, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We greatly appreciate you just being around and sharing your tracks. And no worries, Albereo. And feel free to let me know if you have any questions about any of the feedback I gave. I'm already digging this intro. Yeah, that's sick. I'm digging it. Um, I feel like it has a lot of really interesting musical influences kind of put together. And I feel like one of the big issues I often hear with this style, this kind of like synthwavy kind of thing, is that it's just purely like nostalgia fuel. It's just like they're just going for like that very 80s synthy poppy kind of thing. And you're doing it here, but you're also mixing in a bunch of other stuff that move it beyond just that nostalgia thing into interesting, more kind of innovative techniques, which I really like. I agree with, I think After Party said in the chat, you have this like really pretty marimba pattern that kind of fades out occasionally. It goes away and then kind of fades back in. I'm not sure I feel about it fading away. I think it might just be stronger just to leave it there. If you've tried it there, just staying there, and you like it better with the fade in, keep it the way it is. It did kind of catch my ear as the kind of being like a little strange that it kind of just cut immediately and then fades back in. And it happens a couple of times throughout the whole track, I think. So that might be a personal taste thing. That might be something maybe I'll get used to it if I listen to it a few times. But at first initial glance, I'm not sure if I was feeling the fade out, fade back in. Other than that, I think your snares, they keep changing throughout the whole track, but it seems like there's too much reverb on all of them. And I know with this style of music, you can get away with those like really heavy 80s reverbs. I might tone it back a tiny bit. Love the sound design, love the fills, love just the general vibe of this part. During this section, the mix feels a little strange to me. There's these kind of like bursty chords that feel really quiet. I might tone this up a little bit. Love this part. I like how you go back to the marimba. And then I really love this second section here. I know you said to ignore some of the vocal chops, but they were kind of weird in a good way. Like I think they were really interesting and glitchy and kind of garbled, which is kind of a cool, I don't know, aesthetic to include in this part. Yeah, this part, it's kind of dope. The messiness kind of works though. So I definitely think, go in there, clean them up as much as you want to, but I think that I like the kind of like abstractness of them, especially because again, like when I think about 80s and the synthwave thing, I think about like the cyberpunk aesthetic, and a big part of that is kind of like glitchy, weird technology that doesn't always work really well. And so I kind of like the kind of the vocals kind of like glitch out themselves and also kind of are a little strange. Looking at me like that, got a feeling that it's something we can't fight it. 'Cause I like it when you're looking at me like that, I think there's a few sections where you go a little too heavy on the cymbals, but it is not a big deal. I think it's actually totally fine. But there's a few sections where I'm like, a tiny bit less on those cymbals would not hurt. But overall, I don't think it's not really affecting my overall opinion of the track. I love this as an outro. Whenever I hear that kind of marimba sound by itself with like the really heavy reverb, I kind of want it to like, this might be totally not what you're going for. Water droplet samples go really well with it because it has this very kind of like plucky kind of rhythm to it. So something like that, the sound of water dripping with it works really well in my personal experience. Not saying you need to do that, but anytime I hear those sounds, I just think of like little water droplets. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Overall, I think it sounds really good. Synth work is sounding really solid for the most part. The mix is sounding really clean, and I think it has a lot of energy, and it also stays interesting the whole way through, which is really cool. So yeah, that's one thing about this track. Chat, any other thoughts, ideas? Let me know. Sweet. So, Velto, I see you have a second track in here. I'm not going to have time to get to it today, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it in the spreadsheet so that the very first track next Wednesday will be your Cobra track. And that way, even if you can't make it on Wednesday, you can always watch the stream from next Wednesday whenever you want, basically. Sweet. So that's going to be it for this evening. Once again, thanks to you guys for coming by and sharing your tracks. Hope you guys have a lovely evening. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, get lots of sleep, drink some water. And I will be back on a Monday for an office hour stream. So if you want to come by and chat and talk about making music with Live, that's going to happen on Monday. And then Tuesday will be the Patreon only stream. So if you want to come by for Patreon members, or if you want to join the Patreon, you are more than welcome to do so, because it is probably the best way to help support the channel and allow me to keep making lots of videos and lots of streaming. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. I'll see you guys later. Take care of yourselves.